After the deal, the pen hadn't even cooled in my hand when she laughed. I had just signed the final document, $25 million in glass, concrete, and land, and the room reeked of celebration. My chest felt tight with relief, pride, and a sharp hunger for the commission I had earned. It was the kind of deal careers are made of. I turned to her, my wife, my boss, and smiled. "I can't wait for my commission," I said, steady, but inside I was already spending the money. Her laughter sliced me open. "Commission?" she repeated, shaking her head. "Oh no, I gave it to Matt." The air froze. Matt? She said it casually, as if it were an office joke, as if my work, months of clawing through contracts, meetings, and late nights, meant nothing. I tried to read her face, but it was unreadable. She wasn't joking. "HR confirmed," she added, with a smile too sweet to be real. "You weren't even considered." And then, like a dagger slipped between the ribs, Matt leaned in from across the room. His grin was crooked, satisfied. Forgot to mention it. The words sat heavy in the silence, a silence that buried me alive. I packed my desk that afternoon. Not out of rage, not out of defeat. Something quieter, more deliberate. Because what I did afterward, nobody saw it coming. At first, I told myself it was just business. Deals are politics, hierarchies, office power games. Maybe I had underestimated her loyalty, overestimated mine. But something in the way she said his name, Matt, lodged itself in my throat. Too casual, too familiar. Not the name of a colleague, the name of a secret. I replayed it, the curl of her lips, the way her eyes didn't flicker toward me, the light touch of her hand on his arm when she passed him a glass of champagne. 1,000 micro moments I had dismissed over the years surfaced, drowning me. Her late nights, her quick excuses, her insistence that Matt understood the business better than anyone. I told myself not to think it, not yet, but my mind whispered what my heart already knew. This wasn't about money. This was about betrayal. In bed that night, she slept soundly beside me. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. My chest felt like it had been hollowed out. I thought about the years I had given her, the trust, the sacrifices. I thought about how she had laughed. I didn't rage. I didn't move. I just lay there and let the realization burn through me slowly, until it hardened into something else. Resolve. The next morning I was calm, too calm. She kissed me goodbye, her lips brushing my cheek like we were still us, like nothing was fractured beneath the surface. I watched her leave. I didn't respond. Instead, I began. First, I checked her phone. Not carelessly, carefully. I knew her passwords. Years of trust gave me that. I moved like a ghost through her texts, her emails, her photos. At first, nothing. Just work messages, appointments, contracts. But then, small fractures in the facade. Deleted threads, voicemails cleared. Empty spaces where conversations should have been. Too clean, far too clean. Matt's name appeared often. Too often. Not explicit, always professional, but the tone was wrong. I saved screenshots. Not enough to convict, but enough to start building a file. Next, I checked company records. HR was right. I hadn't even been listed for commission. The deal had been reassigned under Matt's name weeks before it closed. She had orchestrated it quietly, deliberately, and yet she smiled at me each morning as though nothing had shifted. I began tracing her movements. I noted the dinners she claimed to have with clients, the conferences that didn't align with flight logs, the hotel bookings under company expenses. Every detail sharpened the picture. Every detail painted me smaller in my own marriage. But I didn't confront. I didn't scream. I waited. I listened. I watched. I started recording her phone calls when she left the room. I installed a quiet app that mirrored her messages. I began compiling. Every lie became a thread, and I was weaving them into a rope. The DNA kit arrived in an unmarked package. I had ordered it without thinking twice, though my hands shook when I opened it. Not because of suspicion of my children, they were mine. I knew that. No. The test was for her, for Matt. A trace hair from her brush, a toothbrush from his office bathroom. Both sealed, shipped, and labeled. Quietly, methodically. I told myself I wouldn't look at the results when they came, that I wasn't prepared, that maybe ignorance would hurt less. But the day they arrived, the envelope felt heavier than it should have. My hands were steady as I opened it, and there it was. Her DNA, his DNA, the markers, the match. Not siblings, not cousins, not coincidence. Lovers. I sat there staring at the paper until the words blurred. My pulse didn't quicken. My breathing didn't change. It was confirmation of what I had already known, what I had been living in denial of. I had mailed in samples weeks earlier. The champagne glass she left on the counter, the toothbrush from her overnight bag, my own. The boy who called me dad for 12 years wasn't mine. The ink on the report was clinical, detached, but the impact was surgical. It explained the late nights, the distance, the smirk on her father's face when he told me I was done. He hadn't just fired me, he had erased me. I walked into the kitchen that night, handed her the envelope. She read it. Her face drained of color, then twisted into panic. Tears rushed to her eyes, excuses forming on her tongue. "Please, listen, it's not—" I didn't answer. I just watched. The silence was heavier than any word I could have spoken. She realized, in that stillness, that I already knew everything. The hotel receipts, the second marriage, her father's role, the child. Her tears meant nothing. They were the performance of someone who had already written me out of her story. And I was done being an extra in their script. The next morning, his voice bled panic through the phone. "What the hell did you say to them?" I let him wait. 5 seconds. 10. The silence stretched until I could almost hear the tremor in his breath. Finally, I spoke. I said the truth. Just that. No anger, no explanation. The truth, when sharp enough, cuts without force. The law firm moved fast, faster than I expected. They had been waiting for a crack in his armor, and I gave them a sledgehammer. By noon, headlines surfaced, investigations announced, investors withdrawing. The empire trembled. He called me again, 6 times. I didn't answer. At dinner, my wife, no, the stranger I married, pleaded across the table. Promises, apologies. I listened without listening, my face unreadable. When she finished, I slid the DNA results across the wood. Her hands shook as she read them again, her lips parting to form a word she couldn't commit to. I stood, walked out. No slam of doors, no raised voice. Just the quiet certainty of finality. Let them destroy each other in the wreckage they built. In the end, there was no fire, no violence, only collapse. The company crumbled under scrutiny. Her father's name, once synonymous with power, became shorthand for fraud. My wife, ex-wife, spiraled in the fallout, abandoned by the man she thought she'd replaced me with, exposed, alone. And the boy I had raised for 12 years, I didn't blame him. He was innocent. But innocence doesn't erase truth. I left quietly, a small apartment, a different city. People think revenge is fire, explosive, consuming. But real revenge is cold. It is absence where presence once lived. It is silence where words once cut. The last time I saw him, her father, he was standing outside the courthouse, reporters swarming him like flies, his suit wrinkled, his face gray. Our eyes met. He opened his mouth, maybe to curse me, maybe to beg. I turned and walked away. 20 years erased in silence. And for the first time, I felt free. Some betrayals deserve fire, but his only ever required the truth.